We're here today to do a 300-hour service on our 938H cat loader. We're doing that as part of our preventive maintenance program, where we do it every 300 hours to check over the loader mechanically. We get a good idea of what shape the hoses are in, lights, and do an oil change. We're going to start now with the draining the engine oil, and I'll take an oil sample while we do that for our preventive maintenance. So doing that, first thing is, of course, we got our drain pan underneath, and we'll open the drain valve, which is on this one down here. And now just undoing this one's just got a simple valve on it, and you just keep turning it until it stops. Just taking an oil sample, and that just gives us an indication of any contamination or metal or anything like that in the engine oil. Our next step is to replace the oil filter here, and to do that you'll need a filter wrench of some sort, and spin the filter off, and we'll put the new one on, and we'll show you all that. Come on. The next step is to put a little bit of oil on the O-ring of the oil filter. That just helps for sealing and making it easier to get off next time. And then all I do is spin it on and go hand tight. If I can line it up. Yeah, then I just like wiping it off to make it look a little cleaner. And any drips. Our next step is to remove the air filters. And those are just 3 clips. Pull the cover off and pull the 2 air filters out. And then just give them a little push to make sure they're properly seated. Because sometimes if they're not properly seated, the cap is a little bit tough to put on. And then the 3 clips again. And the air filter's done. All right, next step is to close the drain valve. And to do that, just reach down and shut it off. And then the next step is to put oil into our engine again. And this one takes 17 liters. Our next step is to do the cab filters. There's a pre-filter right underneath the step here, and that is just 2 screws, hand screws, I guess. Back them out and get rid of this. That is cleanable if you want to clean it. This one's very straightforward, just fits in there. And then slide it back in. And it's done. And then the next one is the one inside the cab that filters all the air. The next one is the cab filter inside the cab here. And again, there's 2 hand screws, one up front and one back here. And then you just lift the 2 tabs and pull the cab filter out. And again, just make sure you get the airflow going into the cab and place it back in. Oops. And then just the 2 screws. Again, they're only hand tight, so. And that's the cab filters. The last step is to give it a grease and do a visual inspection on the machine. What I like doing when I do that is checking all the hoses and the general condition, hoses, tires, all that kind of stuff. Check for any leaks in the hoses. Are they badly cracked? You know, are fittings leaking or are O-rings leaking or anything like that? I like doing that when I'm greasing because they're already walking around the machine and you're sort of conquering 2 things at once. When I'm greasing, I like carrying a small screwdriver with me because a lot of the grease fittings will get filled with rocks and sand and dirt and stuff, and it's nice to be able to clean them out. When I'm greasing, I like watching in between where the gap in the pins are until I see a little bit of grease come out of there. Everybody's a little bit different on that. All the pins we grease as we go around the machine and continue inspecting. Same time I have a look at the tires, see if there's any damage on the outside or the inside of them. The general rule of thumb on tires is if there is a cut, and we do have one on the other side there, if you see the cords, that's when we need to replace the tire. With tires, I like seeing if I can push them open and see if there's any big chunks coming off, like there's a little one here that'll move. But again, I'm not seeing any cords inside of the little bit of damage we have here on this tire, and that's acceptable, and we'll move on to the next thing. The last thing I do is check all the lights, make sure they're all working. With any light, they're all sort of a safety issue that you want to be seen and you want to be able to see what you're doing. So I know winter's coming, so it helps.